What is up? What is up? What is up, y'all? Thank you all for being here and spending a few hours with me. Well, a few moments with me today. I'm not going to be before you long. Let me just be real with it. But I thank you all for being here and being participants in this live stream. Seem like I ain't been in front of y'all forever, but I'm glad to be here. I thank everyone for being here. Urban Southern Cookie in the building, Country Roads in the building. Thank you all for being here. As you know, we like to spend a few seconds before we get started thanking the supporters of this channel on Them Folks platform. And let me just say this, y'all. I've hired a consultant and I've been in contact with Google, the owners of YouTube, and we've ironed out some things and figured out some things and come to understand that they have labeled my channel as an election advertising channel. I don't know how they could do that because ain't no election going on right now. But because we talk a little bit about politics and lean a certain way about politics, they have labeled us a certain way that has impacted our reach. So y'all go ahead and like this live on the way in instead of on the way out. Just go down there and click that like button, and maybe we can affect that algorithm in reaching the people that are subscribed to this channel and say they want to see this content. Yo, I wasn't even going to talk about this subject matter, and trust me and believe I'm not going to talk about it long because I don't think it deserves a lot of our attention. But thank you, Urban Southern Cookie. I appreciate you. Thank you for your support. Please tell Preston I said hello next time you talk to him. Y'all, this story has been hitting my feed and my timeline so much over the last few days. I'm like, yo, I guess I gotta say something about it. Robert Roberson, thank you for being here and supporting. This story, y'all, let me fix the situation. There we go. Thank you. This man right here has vexed my spirit because when I get in your kid's ear, your son's ear, and I try to talk them into taking a path of success, turning away from all of the evil temptations that might steer them away from the path that will lead them to success in their lives. When I talk to them about it, one of the things I hammer into their heads, I don't want to get carried away. That's why I didn't want to cover this because I'm triggered over this story. I'm so disappointed in this man right here. If there's one thing, y'all, that men in particular, I know when I look at my analytics, y'all, it's about 50-50 women to men who follow me and listen to me on this channel. But I sometimes when I talk to the brethren, I got a specific message, a certain message that I need them to hear. It ain't for the women. I just need to get in your son's ear. I need to get in your brother's ear, your cousin, your husband. I need to get in his ear and say a couple things between brothers. One of the things that I say is that, bro, if you can't control that little deacon, you are not going to be successful in this life, on this earth, in this world. Yeah, we understand. We are not physical beings playing spiritual games. No, we are spiritual beings that inhabit a physical persona on this earth. Okay, we get that. But along with that physical persona comes certain proclivities, certain inclinations. One of the things I find interesting is that when you go into black churches these days, excuse me, y'all. Listen, I had the craziest sneeze attack before I hit the live button, but I had to hit live to be on time. But y'all, my sneezes was crazy right before I hit live. So y'all forgive me, my allergies are acting up today. But one of the things that I hate that black folks say about black church, when we see a preacher in the church who cutting up, who acting up, who acting out of order, one of the things that folks say is that, well, yeah, he's a man of God, but he's a man first. When I hear people say that, I understand that that's what turns off many black men from going to church, because usually that statement comes from black women who are accepting of the foolishness that comes out of the pulpit of these pulpit pimps who claim to be representing God. Now, y'all, I trust God, but I have some doubts about some of these Negroes who claim to represent him in the pulpit. And I've talked about that in previous videos. I've talked about it in previous lives, and I might go live again and talk about it some more, because these folks is facing charges now. They're getting hit with real situations because of their evil machinations, because they ain't been able to control that flesh. But I heard the story about Shannon Sharp. And the fact that more information keeps coming out and keeps coming out. He's trying to put out information to defend himself. She putting out information to defame him. She got an ambulance chasing lawyer. And let me say this, because we get into this ain't even the topic of conversation today. We just passing by this on the way to where we trying to get. But when I went to law school, I sat next to people like the lawyer who is prosecuting this case against Shannon Sharp. Ain't no criminal charges been filed. They're making certain accusations, but ain't no criminal charges been filed. Ain't no police reports. Ain't none of that. We just trying to get the bag. And the fact that a melanated man like this, a successful man like this, prior to this instance, would have been a man that I pointed young people in the direction of and say, hey, excuse me, y'all. Look to this man as an example. Look at what he did. Look how hard he worked. Some would say he's more successful now than he's ever been in the NFL. Yeah, but look how hard he had to work to become an NFL player. The work he had to put in, the dedication he had to put in, the focus he had to put in just to become an NFL player so he can become relevant years later after his retirement. Y'all understand what we're talking about here? Shannon Sharp Has Urban Southern Cookie says, too tight pants, Tony, aka Shannon, should know better. Ooh, too tight pants. Listen, can't nobody listen. Can't nobody break down a man like a woman. Okay. Urban Southern Cookie said, too tight pants, Tony, aka Shannon. Oh, she done gave him a nickname. Too tight pants. Oh, okay. We see what's going on there. But typically, I would point out to a man like this when I talk to your kids. I would say, hey, bro, look at somebody like this who has worked hard, who has overcome some things. Shannon Sharp said, I grew up, man. My toilet wasn't even in the house. We had an outhouse down there in southern Georgia. The bathroom was outside. We were so poor, bro. We couldn't even afford the OR. We wasn't poor. We was poor. But eventually, through hard work and dedication and following direction of people who knew the way, he came into a situation where he and his brother played in the NFL. Okay, you work hard, you get those rewards, you achieve those goals. But here he is, y'all, in this situation where somebody is accusing him of grape. Thank you, greedy genius. Appreciate you. Let me put that on the screen because we fighting against them folks for real, for real. But this man has been accused of certain things that he is trying to combat against. And we got an ambulance chasing lawyer who, listen, I know this situation, y'all. I sat in class next to people like this who I knew when they got a law degree. God forbid. I said, listen, if you give this person a law degree, they're going to do things like this with the law. They're going to be ambulance chasers. They're going to be false accusers. They're going to go out and they're going to find clients to sue people like this. And listen, this man is not blameless. I ain't trying to stand here before you and say that this man is blameless. He is careless. He's reckless. And just as I used people like him before to be examples to your sons, I'm going to use him as an example now of what not to be. Because more information keeps coming out and coming out and coming out. And you find that this man is not blameless. No, he participated in certain things that set himself up for a situation just like this. I don't want your sons to fall into that trap. I didn't want Shannon. I didn't want Shay to fall into that trap. But he did because pride comes before the fall. And he got so proud. He got so egotistical that he got out there and got reckless. He put his guard down. And they say, oh, well, he offered to settle the lawsuit for $10 million. $10 million, bro. What? And I understand. Listen, I got a law degree, y'all. Follow where I'm going here. A lot of people will settle lawsuits just to get rid of a nuisance. Happens all the time. But in this case of Shannon Sharp, he got himself so caught up. And now they releasing videos and pictures of the girl, and she looks exactly like I thought she would look. She don't look like $10 million that he offered to settle. Bro, she don't look like 10 mil. Now she asking for 50. Listen. This Robert Roberson said the tube is a funny place. It is. But we battling right now. So we just gonna battle. We're gonna put on the whole armor of God and we just gonna stand 10 toes down and fight. Because that's what we about. But this dude, when I looked at the photos and videos and images and things that were coming out about this woman, I said, bro, she looked about exactly like we thought she would look. With yo, blackity black, southern black, crispity, crunchity, blackity black tail. Gonna get out here and risk it all. Risk it all. put it all on the line for this. And I find so many people. Thank you, Kyle, for being here. Look, our sister is in the building. She know I can't get this name right, but Kfaceci. She told it to me before, and I done forgot it. But we love you to life, sis, and we thank you for being here, even though we can't pronounce what is going on right there in your screen name. We love you. This brother got out here and he risked it all. And I'm reminded of a scripture, y'all. I'm going to share it with y'all because this is what came to my mind. She said, it's all good. Thank you, sis. We love you to life. This scripture came to me, said, Proverbs 25 and 28 is what I dug up, right? Proverbs 25 and 28, y'all. King James Version, which I don't stray far away from, but is not the version that I'm going to in this instance. King James Version says, he that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls. I'll repeat it. Proverbs 25 and 28, King James Version says, he that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls. That is not the version that I referred to in this instance, y'all. And listen, this is a version I don't ever go to. All these new funny Bibles and things, like I don't ever refer to this, but in this instance, it gave me clarity. And I shared it with somebody this morning in a private conversation. But I thought it was important. I thought it was relevant. I thought it was good to share because it gave some clarity. It says Proverbs 25:28 in the ESV version says, a man without self-control. Oh, I like that. A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls, y'all. A man without self-control. This man here, because he couldn't control that little deacon that I talk to y'all about from time to time. Listen, I might go heavy into it in the Patreon on a Friday night live. We're going to dig deep into it in ways that I can't on them folks' platform. We're going to talk about it because I got some stuff I need to share with y'all. If you can't control your little deacon, and we call it little deacon, but the truth of the matter is it's a little demon. If you can't get control of that little deacon, you're going to lose control of your life. And we got so many instances, y'all, where cats have crashed out. If y'all follow me for some time, you remember I used to have the poster on the back wall that said success. And it gave you the stairs to success because ain't no escalator, ain't no elevator. You got to take the stairs if you want to be successful in this life. Gave you step by step what you're going to need, the elements to success. This man became successful in his life, parlayed his NFL career into an internet presence. The whole Cat Williams situation catapulted him into a whole nother stratosphere, to the point where he was negotiating $100 million deal for his podcast. Y'all, I done already been on this too long. I didn't think I was gonna be on this long. Let me get through this, get past this, because this dude, he ain't worth all of this. But as soon as the word leaked that he was going to negotiate $100 million deal for his podcast, all of a sudden he gets sued for $50 million. Now, let me just step out of my lane real quick and tell y'all, ain't a box in the world, brothers. I know, I told y'all 50-50, men to women on this channel. I look at the demographics and I see what's going on. I look at the analytics. I understand. Brothers, I'm talking to you right now. Ain't no box in the world worth 50 million. Ain't no box. Excuse me, y'all. Ain't no box in the world worth 10 million that he tried to settle for. She said, no, I don't want your 10. I want 50. With her shyster lawyer. I've been married 33 years, y'all. My marriage to my wife is invaluable. I can't put a price on it. 50 million wouldn't pay for it. But it ain't because of box. It's because of all the other intangibles that she brings to the table. It's because of the support physically, emotionally. All the things that she brings to the table. I can't put a price on that. And if you look back at Club Shay Shay, you'll see that Monique got on this man's platform and she told him, she said, bro, you 50 plus years old. Look, I just entered the 50 club, y'all. So give me a little bit. Give me a little time to adjust. I just got here. But this man been in the 50 club for a while now and he still can't figure it out. Dealing with folks that are the age of his children. Out there putting himself at risk. And boy, did he risk it all on this chick who's, and look, when you look at her, I ain't, look, this is why I didn't want to go into this. Thank you, Lynn W. She says, amen on your 33 years. Thank you so much. I was a father at 16, married at 17. I got a little experience that I can share with some of these young bucks. And I try to share it as often as I can to try to give them information so that they don't crash out like Shannon. Look, when we talk about success, bro, you can spend your whole life working for success. And when you get there, when you arrive at that moment, at that pinnacle, sorry, y'all. My allergies are killing me. I'm sorry, y'all. When you arrive at that moment, you can crash out at that moment. Because you've been carrying people. You've been carrying leeches. You've been carrying vultures. You've been carrying vipers that have attached to you, waiting on you to hit that moment. This $100 million podcast deal is more than he ever earned in the NFL, y'all. And you had somebody who was attached to you, who was leeching on to you, who was setting you up, who had recorded conversations with you. Who recording your phone calls? That's somebody who ain't on your team. Yet she did it. She set you up, and you were gullible enough to fall for it. Through all of this, through all that hard work, coming from nothing, coming from dirt, coming from an outside outhouse in southern Georgia. You got played by a little 21-year-old snow. We ain't trying to make this a racial situation, but let me tell you, y'all, when I looked at the picture, she looked exactly like I thought she would look. Urban Southern Cookie said she also recorded their sexual encounter. Well, he put something out there on his own about that, didn't he? Didn't he record himself in a faked up sexual encounter and he put that out there trying to go viral? Yo, this is why I count myself separate from some of these people. Regardless of what the numbers look like on these folks' platform as they continue to put their foot on my neck. We understand the situation. I do it for the love, not the likes. And when you find people who are out there doing certain things for the likes, they'll do anything for the likes. And that's how this man finds himself in this position today, where he is being sued by an ambulance chasing attorney who has been excoriated by courts in the past, who has a sketchy reputation at best as a legal counsel. And you done laid up, bruh, with your old, listen, I just got to the 50 club and I'm a grandfather. This man saying I'm a granddaddy too. Listen, with your old granddaddy self, bro. You amongst those of us who got to dye our beards just to keep it right for the internet. And you out here flexing and flashing and pushing iron and like Urban Southern Cookies say, wearing them extra tight pants. Can't nobody roast you like a woman. With your tight pants on out here with your granddaddy self. You about to let a 21, 22-year-old woman take it all from you, ruin you, help you crash out as you were just about to reach the apex? No, I'm going to use your story as an example. I'm going to stay in y'all sons' ears. I'm going to continue to talk to them. And I'm going to use this story as an example. Yes, Robert Roberson, gold digger, 100%. I don't doubt that. But listen, let's go back to the scripture. Robert Roberson, Proverbs 25:28, ESV. A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. This man could not control his little deacon / little demon. And because of that, it got him into so much trouble. And listen, we can go back to biblical times. Let's go back to Adam in the garden. Can we go back to Adam in the garden? Can we go back to Samson and Delilah? Can we go back to David and Bathsheba? Oh my goodness. That's one of my favorite stories in the Bible. When David looked out the window and saw Bathsheba glistening in the sun as she was bathing, he said, "Oh, Lord, Lord, what is this we have here?" Happy Mac in the building. Thank you for being here. Julius Caesar. Bill Clinton. Let's get more recent. Look, Barack Obama is finding himself in a situation right now where his wife won't even be seen with him in public because that little deacon that you couldn't control has led you in a bad place. It is a problem, y'all, that we have faced as men in this world since the beginning of time. Since biblical times, there are so many examples of brothers who would have been hailed and upheld as some of the strongest men the world has ever known had it not been for that certain temptation that has led them astray. And women who are savvy, women who are slick, women who are strong, they know that weakness, they focus in on it, and they set up men like this. This brother was set up. But had he not been so weak, he would not have fallen for it. Our sister Amethyst Angel is in the building. Thank you for being here, sis. We appreciate you as usual. I'm praying for Shannon. And I listen, y'all. If y'all follow me for some time, you've heard me talk about it in times past. And I said I was going to try to do it on this platform, but it came to my acknowledgement, let me put it that way, that there were certain things I couldn't talk about on this platform because I would be considered as unqualified because I didn't have certain credentials in certain areas. I'm like, okay, cool. I won't touch it. Has to do with financials, has to do with medical, has to do with all kinds of situations, which I don't hold a degree in. 3 degrees and a law degree, y'all. Listen, I understood it. I said I won't touch it on this platform. I may touch it in Patreon, but one of the things is a situation like this where a brother risked everything that he has achieved, has attained, has worked hard for, and he falls short because he can't control a certain desire, a certain proclivity. And we all have proclivities. Listen, y'all, this is where I run into problems on platforms like this because we all have proclivities. Can we just be honest with one another and say we are all human? We understand that we are spirits inhabiting a physical body, but then these physical bodies have certain desires, have certain interests, have certain proclivities that we must bring under subjection. And if we can't, Demisha, if we can't bring it under subjection, we will fall victim to it like this. And these are grown-up conversations that a lot of times church folks don't have. They don't preach this over the pulpit. Maybe they should. Maybe they should preach it over the pulpit. Maybe more brethren would show up if y'all started preaching this over the pulpit and understanding that, listen, bro, not everybody likes everything. Everything ain't for everybody. How many of them mothers who wear white on Sunday, on Women's Day, who wear all that white in them outfits on first Sunday on communion? How many of the mothers would admit some of the circumstances they've been in? That's why I like in the church I was raised in the Kojic church, they have a situation called the YWCC where they have meetings with young women Christian council, and them old mothers will get in there and teach the young ladies. I could never be there. But I had friends who was there who would share information with me and be like, oh, this is what mother was talking about. I said, ooh, mother was talking right. Did she really put it on y'all like that? So mother and all that white would tell y'all, I did this, that, and the third. And this is what I learned from it. This is what y'all can take from my experience. So y'all ain't got to do what I did. And all that white, y'all. What did I take from it? I took from it that I could share experiences with y'all just like that and say, hey, I've made mistakes. I've had missteps. I've fallen into traps. And what I learned from those traps is valuable lessons that I can share with you so that you can take a shortcut. You ain't got to go the route that I went. You ain't got to do what I've done. Hope you learn from me. Because a smart man learns from his own mistakes. I heard that adage somewhere. I don't even remember where I heard it, but it was so poignant that a smart man learns from his own mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. I hope y'all learn from the mistakes of others such that you don't have to step into certain traps that are problematic, proving to be problematic for a lot of people in current times. Now, y'all, if you follow me for some time, you know I rock out with the whole Donald Trump situation and this administration and trying to turn America around because we have come into so many problems in modern political society that have led this country astray. The enemies within, as I call it, those who are within government, within Washington, D.C., within the swamp, who are working purposely to lead this country in the wrong direction. So I rock with them and I hope they are successful. I'm rooting for them. I'm I'm hoping they win, but we got a current situation, which is what we are trying to get to today. Y'all hit that like button. Stop playing. We got enough people in here. Hit that like button. Run it up. Don't wait till you're ready to leave out. Hit the like button on your way in, and let's get this thing cracking for the algorithm. I appreciate y'all. Got a situation here where this story is kind of heartbreaking. When you look at someone like myself, when you look at other people who are supporters of this platform, who are in school, who are trying to learn, who are trying to get that education. There was a time, y'all, not long ago, where I would counsel young people and I would try to get them on the right path. And they would say, hey, college ain't for everybody. And I say, no, that ain't true. Because no matter what you're into, no matter what you're interested in, there is a college curriculum somewhere for you. No matter what your interest is, no matter what your hobby is, no matter what your love is, find a school that has a major in it and get into it, dig into it. You can get a degree in it. You can grow from it. Well, I don't too much subscribe to that anymore. And y'all got to give me the authority and the right to change my mind as circumstances change. But we have a situation here where the federal government under Donald Trump is saying, look, student loan borrowers in default face garnished wages. Education Department says. I know that's troublesome. I know it's scary for a lot of people. They're saying, look, bro, I took out these loans to get an education. And some of them are looking at me saying, bro, you told me that if I went to college and got this piece of paper, things would be okay. And these people went to college. They took those classes. They got those student loans, which were predatory. And now they find themselves in situations where they can't pay the loans back. They use the loans, and look, for justified reasons. You can use a loan to buy a car to get back and forth to school. You can use a loan to afford housing to keep you indoors so you can go back and forth to class and study and get a grade. But as some of these students use these predatory loans, 18 years old, 19 years old, they signed up for these loans to further their education. They are finding themselves in a situation where they can't get a decent job and they are in default on those loans. And the U.S. government now under Donald Trump is saying, we're going to garnish your wages. Oh my gosh. Let's see what this story is talking about. Washington. The Education Department will soon begin collecting payments for student loans that are in default, including through wage garnishment for potentially millions of borrowers. 5+ million borrowers, y'all. The department announced Monday, beginning May 5th, they're giving you a couple days. That ain't even enough time to even get your thoughts together. They give you a couple days to even think about it. Beginning May 5th, the Education Department will begin involuntary collections through the Treasury Department's offset program, which claws back delinquent debts by withholding payments such as tax refunds, federal salaries, and Social Security benefits. More than 5 million borrowers, thank you, are in default, and 4 million more could be in the same position in a few months. Y'all, people are either in default or on the verge of default. You're talking about 5 million in default, 4 million on the verge of default, 9 million people, which would put nearly a quarter of the federal student loan portfolio in default. Oh, Slick Rick. Oh, a quarter of the whole federal student loan segment is in default. According to the Education Department, less than 40% of borrowers are current on their student loan payments, less than 40%. Jeez. In the next 2 weeks, those in default will receive emails informing them of the next steps and urging them to look into repayment options. Wage garnishment notices will be sent out later this summer. Ooh, can you imagine? Listen, y'all. You on a job. You got a degree. You over leveraged yourself, did everything you could to survive and pay rent and pay bills and have a car and do whatever you could just to get by, just to make it while you were a student. You got that sheepskin. You got it. But the job you got after getting that degree ain't paying nothing. What are you to do then? And you saying, I can't pay these loans back. I'm falling into default. Now your credit messed up. You couldn't get a new apartment if you wanted one. You couldn't get a new car because your credit is toe up, because your loan is in default. Now you're all messed up. Might have an eviction on your record, might have all kind of blemishes on your credit. And on top of all of that, you just been hanging on to this little job just to get by, just to kind of pay some bills, just to kind of eat and get by and keep your kids secure. And under this Trump administration, they saying, yo, we coming for you. You took out this loan, you got to pay it back. Whew. Joe Biden promised you that he was going to refund these loans. He was going to give you some kind of grace, some kind of relief, and he didn't do nothing. So here you are. Okay. No federal student loan has been referred to collections since March 2020, when President Trump paused payments and interest accrual during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Biden administration extended that pause, which ended in October 2024. Teresa Candy Lovelace, thank you for being here. We appreciate your support. Y'all, people are in trouble. People got problems. People, listen, I got 3 college degrees and a law degree. Extremely expensive, even with scholarships. I never would have went to the law school I went to had I not gotten a scholarship. I went out of state. They said, bro, we'll put together a package for you. Based on your GPA and your LSAT score, we'll put together a package to you to give you in-state tuition plus a scholarship situation. And me and my partners, me and my bros used to sit in that law library. And they were in a class ahead of me. So I would listen to them argue. They would practice on each other back and forth. And we would sit up and we would engage in argumentation and say, bro, we should have went to Howard. All 3 of us got into Howard, but Howard wasn't giving out no scholarship. So we was like, bro, ain't no money over there. Why would we do that? But we got to that institution in the Midwest and we was like, man, sitting in the law library, like, bro, we should have went to Howard. I believe it would have been better than this situation right here. And you know what? It may have been, may not have been. But when you look at the financials, we all made those decisions to go to that institution based on financials, because we each got invites, each got accepted to Howard University. And out of all the schools I got accepted to, that was the one school whose acceptance letter I retained and laminated and said, I'm going to keep this because of the history of this institution. But y'all ain't giving out no money, I ain't coming. Well, you have a situation here where many other students are facing economic calamity. Not only that, but default. They're facing default, y'all. It's tearing up your credit. You can't do nothing. Joe Biden promised you a certain thing. He said he was going to fix it for you. He was going to work it out for you. He was going to give you some relief. You know where Joe Biden gave your relief to? Illegal aliens. All them illegal immigrants to the tune of 21 plus million people in this country who got welfare benefits and food stamps and hotel stays and luxurious hotels, and they got cars, they got cash benefits, they got all your money. You citizen, you Democrat voter, you Democrat loyalist, you was loyal to the party. Joe Biden sold you a whole bill of goods and said he was going to fix that whole situation for you. He gave everything that you could have got, that could have wiped out. Listen, we're talking about 1.4, last time I checked, about $1.4 trillion in student loan debt. Well, that's about what he gave to illegal immigrants. He could have helped you out. He could have saved you. He could have gave you some relief. But that man you voted for, that man you committed to, decided not to give you that. He didn't want to give you that. Nah, not at all. He decided to give it to illegal immigrants. And now you stuck. You stuck. Not knowing what to do, not knowing where to go, not knowing where to turn. Well, Donald Trump is going to put the clamps on you. Donald Trump is going to ruin your credit so that you ain't got nowhere to go. Does that make Donald Trump the bad guy, or does that make him represent America? It all depends on where you feel, on how you feel on the situation. Listen, I live in California, y'all, born and raised, born and bred. Hey, Bernie, thank you for being here. Appreciate you. I'm in California, y'all, so the way y'all might feel about student loans might not be the way I feel about student loans, but I tell you, I got multiple college degrees and a law degree, and law school is expensive, even with scholarships. Even with financial situations that are beneficial, it's still expensive. So listen, if I took my student loans and my situations and I applied them to y'all situations in other states, boy, I'd be winning. Yeah, I can look at it because I come from California and I say, okay, well, couple $100,000 in student loans don't really mean nothing. I'm in California. But in your state, boy, it might make a whole difference. Might be life-changing money. But I'm not in that situation, so I pay student loans. I have student loans. I still keep up with my student loans, and everything is good. It ain't affecting me as it's affecting some people, but I see some people stressing, and I feel for you for what is to come. I told y'all, if you followed me for some time, you followed me in my presidential administration videos, you understand there's going to be some rough times ahead. None of us know how rough it's going to get, but it looked like it's some turbulence coming where the government might wreck your credit, where it might take you a whole decade to rebuild it. What are we doing? What are we doing? I used to advocate for young people to go to college, get a formal education, get that sheepskin, get that paperwork, because that's going to put you in a situation where you can work for another person and build a career. I don't do that too much anymore because that's not the society that we live in. No, I don't want you to get out there and over leverage yourself with $100,000, $50,000 in student loans, and then the government come to collect and you ain't got nothing. You graduated with a degree and ain't no job waiting for you after you graduate. What are you going to do? Our sister Urban Southern Cookie says, I'm blessed to have scholarships paying for my education at the university I'm at, and I'm graduating this year debt-free. Praise the Lord. Listen, girl, I want to shout for you right now. I wish I could hold your hand and dance with you right now. Debt-free. That's what we talking about, Urban Southern Cookie. If you can go to school for free, by all means, get your tail in there and get it. But if it's going to put an undue burden on you, and this government is going to come and punish you, then you need to get with somebody like me who has been through the gauntlet, who can tell you what to do, what to read, what knowledge you need in order to further your career. I read a story the other day about MBAs, and it said MBA degrees are great if you want to climb the corporate ladder and work for somebody else, but MBAs are terrible for people who want to be entrepreneurs. You don't need to go through all of that. You don't need to get in debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars getting an MBA degree if you're just going to start your own business. And understand that I talk to a lot of people who I encourage to be entrepreneurs. I talk to people who got felonies. Who's saying, bro, I can't get a job any and everywhere. What can I do? What are my options? Oh, you can always start a business. Don't nobody care about that felony if you out here with your own business. But you need to understand how to do that, how to elevate your skill level so that you can operate and be competitive in the market that you want to go into. Shout out to Urban Southern Cookie, who's going to college for the free. My God, girl. That's worthy of a praise dance right there. If y'all can get into college for free, if you can go to college for free, by all means, go to college. But I promise you, even as I sit here, there is somebody somewhere who has written a book that will tell you everything you need to know. Everything you need to understand in order to be successful in your career. You just got to know where to find the information, what to read, where to dig. I didn't go to law school to be a lawyer. And some of my classmates didn't even understand it. They were like, bro, why are you here? Well, I'm here because I'm preparing for battle. I got somebody, I've been out there working in business and somebody stepped on my toes, and I understand that this is a David versus Goliath situation. See, it always goes back to the Bible. But I understand in my life, I am David facing Goliath. If I don't understand how these lawyers work, ain't no way I can win. And the only way for me to understand how lawyers think is to be here at this school. Yeah, I can read all the books I need, but I need to be here. I need to be in this environment, and I need to understand how they teach y'all how to think. So that when I get out here and I fight this fight, I know what's going to happen. I know what's coming my way. And y'all, when I tell you, one day I might explain it explicitly, but when I tell you that they paid me not to say it, the truth of the matter is I can be vague with it. But silence comes with a price. And if you're willing to pay it, hey, that's on you. Listen, I like that, Urban Southern Cookie. Thank you for that. Says there are YouTube videos that can teach you how to do things as well. YouTube, man, YouTube is the best institution. It is the best educational tool ever. I got a son who is in his senior year of high school. I got one more left, y'all. 1 out of 6. I got one more left, and I'm always pointing him to Khan Academy because you can learn anything you need to learn on YouTube. The best education tool if you use it that way. It's up to you. How you gonna use it? You gonna sit on here and watch cartoons and pranks and stupid videos all day? Or you gonna use it as a tool to enhance yourself so that you are sharper when you enter the job market? Because these days it's not about how many degrees you have, it's about what you have achieved, what you have established. People will look at your resume and say, oh, this is who you are. You put in the application, first thing they're going to do is pull up your internet profile and see where you at, what you're doing. Oh, you got an OnlyFans. So we're going to put you in the circular file cabinet right away. Trash, garbage, Why you out here on OnlyFans talking about you want to work for my corporation? No, we're not doing that. Let's get into this, y'all, and see what these people are talking about, because the government has declared that they are coming for you. If you have defaulted on your student loans, which many people have, they're coming for you. They ain't playing anymore. Let's get into this.
Grumpy old gay rant of the day. Some of the people on this app do not have the God-given sense that the good Lord gave to a turnip. Let's talk about student loans for a second. This app has been filled with different types of people with different student loans. I am one of them. I was fortunate in the fact that I enrolled in the public service loan forgiveness and paid on mine for 10 freaking years and then had the rest forgiven. And before you come for me in the comments, you have no idea what I had to do to get those loans forgiven. I had to teach for 10 years in the schools that nobody wanted to teach in. I had to teach the subjects that nobody wanted to teach to the kids that nobody wanted to teach for over 10 years. And I kind of had fun doing it. But there were people on this app for the past 2 years bragging, saying, I will never make my student loan payments. They were all over this app saying, I have no intention of ever paying my student loans, bragging about it. And then last night and this morning, my feed is full of people saying, I can't believe the government's going to garnish my wages. I have asked this question many times in the past, but does it hurt to be that stupid? You're like the person who stole a car and then bragged about it to everybody else, and then you're surprised that the police showed up to your house. If you had no intention of paying back the student loan, you could have just shut the fuck up about it. But for some reason, you thought it was okay to brag about it on social media. You know who else is on social media? The government. And they saw your little TikToks and they said, oh, hell no, not on my watch, bitch. And now they're going to garnish your wages. Even though I find it hilarious to watch you cry on TikTok, Gunkle Tim is still going to help you out. We still have a teacher shortage. And I think if you enroll now, you can start that public service loan forgiveness program. You're still going to have to make your payments for 10 years and teach in the schools nobody wants to teach in and teach the subjects that nobody wants to teach. But it's a whole lot better than them garnishing your wages for the rest of your
In other news, the Trump administration has announced we will put an end to Joe Biden's illegal student loan bailout attempts. No student loan has been referred to collection since March of 2020. That comes to an end. On May 5th, the Department of Education will resume involuntary collections for borrowers with defaulted federal student loans. The student loan portfolio controlled by the federal government is nearly $1.6 trillion, but fewer than 4 out of 10 borrowers are in repayment. This is unsustainable, unfair, and a huge liability for American taxpayers. Debt cannot be wiped away. It just ends up getting transferred to others. So why should Americans who didn't go to college or went to college and responsibly paid back their loans pay for the student loans of other Americans? The Trump administration will never force taxpayers to pay student loan debts that don't belong to them. Student loan borrowers need clarity, and we're finally giving it to them. Borrowers will now be clearly expected to repay their loans, and those who default on their loan obligations will face involuntary collections. The government can and will collect defaulted federal student loan debt by withholding money from borrowers, tax refunds, federal pensions, and even their wages. America is $36 trillion in debt. We must get our fiscal house in order and restore common sense to our country. If you take out a loan, you have to pay it back. It's very simple. President Trump will not kick the can down the road anymore.
Well, the Education Secretary, Linda McMahon, has announced plans to claw back the $188 billion in student loan forgiveness granted under Joe Biden. In an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, she writes, quote, debt doesn't go away. It gets transferred to others. If borrowers don't pay their debts to the government, taxpayers do. America's Newsroom co-anchor and the 5 co-hosts, Dana Perino, one of those people, also a taxpayer, joins us right now.
Yes, believe me, taxpayer.
Well, remember when this all happened, it looked like Joe Biden was trying to buy the votes of young people who had outstanding student loans. Didn't work.
It didn't work.
But it cost all of us.
So it was a COVID era policy. It's time for it to go away.
Right.
What she announced yesterday, and in the Wall Street Journal piece today that I thought was very good, is that the gravy train is over. And also remember, it was Nancy Pelosi who said, Joe Biden doesn't have the legal authority to do this. They tried to do it anyway. The courts kept pushing it back. So they had false hopes, false promises to people. And I understand the student loan debt can be a burden. It doesn't mean that the system shouldn't be changed or that the interest rate couldn't be lowered, but they are going to have to pay it back. Nobody helps somebody that bought an F-150 as a plumber pay that bill.
Right.
And none of us should have to. They pay their bills. Everyone should pay their bills. It doesn't mean the system can't be reformed.
Here's what she writes. I have another hard truth for the institutions that made empty promises to students while pocketing their loan dollars. Colleges and universities call themselves nonprofits, but for years they have profited massively off the federal subsidy of loans, hiking tuition and piling up billion-dollar endowments while students graduate six figures in the red.
Right. So more truth in advertising is good. Better decision making is also good. The other thing that she says is that they have set up more help to help figure out a way so that the payment can fit your budget. That has to come true. They have to be able to answer the phone and get answers for that. Hopefully that will work out. She's also using artificial intelligence to help make that happen.
No kidding. Yeah. Call somebody. All right. Listen. This is going to be the #1 book in the world as of later today.
So.
Dana's
in this morning's Money Moment, if you are in default on your student loans, this story is for you. The Education Department could begin collecting payments by garnishing your wages to collect on that money. Now, the Education Department made that announcement Monday, saying they could start collecting loan money starting May 5th. That's in less than 2 weeks. The involuntary collection will be done through the Treasury Department's offset program that pulls back delinquent debts by withholding payments such as tax refunds, federal salaries, and Social Security benefits. More than 5 million borrowers are in default, and 4 million more could be in the same position in a few months. Less than 40% of borrowers are current on their student loan payments, according to the department. So what's next? You'll receive an email informing you of the next steps to take and urging everyone to look into their repayment options. Wage garnishing notices will be sent out as early as this summer. Now, if you remember, former President Joe Biden had attempted to wipe out student loan debt across the country, but eventually the courts ruled that he misled borrowers about his actual authority to be able to take such an action. In the same announcement, the department added there will not be any mass loan forgiveness at any point in the near future. So again, the next step is you should look for an email, and that will guide you on what your options are. I'm Brianna Boudreau, and that's your Monday Moment on this Tuesday morning.
There you have it, y'all. What do you think about what is happening in the student loan space under MAGA, Make America Great Again, right? Oh, it's not going to be great for some people who might owe 100,000, 150,000, 200,000 in student loans. Barack Obama said himself that he didn't pay off his student loans till he became the president. Oh, he started making some real money. He was able to pay them joints off and get rid of them. But even as a senator, he was facing student loan repayment. Well, what we are seeing here is a situation where they're going after people who have defaulted. You already in the red. These student loans already reporting to your credit. You already reported as a deadbeat. Your credit score has already taken a hit because your loans are in default. You're not just late, you're in default. I don't even understand what that is. 90 days, 120 days late. What is default? Default is the point where they feel like you just gave up and you ain't going to pay it back. I know it's not 30 days. 30 days, you just get tagged. You get taxed on your credit score for a 30-day late payment. You don't want that at all. But then when you get to a point of default, my God, you got to be like 90 days, 120 days late, where they just charge it off and be like, okay, default. This person is not intending on paying us back at all. Well, the federal government is saying you're going to pay it back because we know you're out there somewhere. We know you're working somewhere, and you probably struggling to get by. You struggling to make ends meet. You struggling to buy food, just trying to keep the lights on. Can you imagine that same government coming to you in your downtrodden state, your hurt economic state, that government coming to you and say, we gonna snatch $500 out of your paycheck? Some of y'all, listen, I saw a report the other day that said most Americans, I don't remember the exact number percentage that they stated, but it was most Americans don't have $500 in case of an emergency. That means if something go wrong in your family, something go wrong in your life, you have an emergency of any sort. Most Americans ain't got $500 to come up with at the drop of a dime to take care of an emergency. What are you going to do if you look up one day and you just trying to work paycheck to paycheck, trying to work amongst people you hate? You don't even like the people you work with. You just trying to get by. God, let me just be able to pay my bills, keep the lights on and stay indoors and feed my kids whatever I can give them. And all of a sudden the federal government shows up and boom, $500 gone, $1,000 gone out of your paycheck. What do you do? How do you respond? How strong is your faith? I know some of y'all faith ain't that strong. I already know. Some of y'all would be outside in the parking lot at your job, cussing to the sky in disbelief. That's what's about to happen to a lot of people in this country, y'all. This is what we are facing as people are in default. Listen. Happy Mac says, listening as I'm crawling on my belly and busting my knuckles, fixing my own used lawnmower. Pay for your own shenanigans. Happy Mac ain't giving a crippled crab a crutch. Saying, I don't owe y'all nothing. Don't put y'all debt on me. I understand it. I don't expect nobody to pay my debts. My path was my path, and I chose it every step of the way. I thank and praise God that he ordered my steps in order that it would work out the way that it did. But for some people who got, man, listen, everybody, if I go right down the street to the Starbucks that I often will sit in and do some work and just, soak in the atmosphere. Everybody in that Starbucks got a college degree. Everybody. How do I know? Because I'm in there often enough to talk to them. I know them all on a first name basis. They know me on a first name basis. When I come in, they know my drink. And we just rock out like that. But everyone in there has a college degree. Problem is the college degrees are in interior design and art, sociology and things like that, where they stuck with college degrees working at Starbucks. If they got student loans, then they trying to pay off them student loans on a Starbucks salary, y'all. They don't even have jobs in the degrees, in the disciplines that they worked so hard for. Because the jobs aren't there. And that's why I don't recommend formal education in the way that I used to years ago. Y'all allow me to change my opinion. Because right now I feel a certain way about this whole circumstance. And I don't want young people to get themselves in a worse circumstance. A lot of these young folks are starting out from a bad place. And because you got predatory lenders out there who the government won't rein in, you got people who are being lured into bad situations. They've been lured in from a bad situation to a worse situation, and the government ain't doing nothing to save them. Somebody is standing there and you say, oh, you're the bank? You're authorized by the federal government and I can just sign my name here as an 18-year-old and you're going to give me this much money? Yo. Some of these people ain't never seen this much money. Some of these people can't read because K through 12 education is so poor. And yet you have a federal government who is taking advantage of these young folks in these situations and saying, hey, now we're going to put the screws to you. Yeah, nobody was there to teach you. Nobody was there to point you in the right direction. You sign your name on a dotted line. You got yourself into this student loan situation, something that you didn't understand. They gave you a whole stack of papers to sign, and you couldn't read them because you didn't learn how to read in K through 12. But they just kept passing you along. So now you're here. Freshman in college, community college. Big boy in the building. Thank you for being here. Now you done signed your name on this paperwork and you got you a couple $1,000 and went to the car lot and put it down on a Hellcat. Yeah, now you're skeet skirting through the parking lot at the college, half going to class. Because you ain't never learned. Ain't nobody taught you no discipline. They just told you to sign on the dotted line and you be good. And now you here, years later, having defaulted on a student loan that you didn't know nothing about. You didn't even understand. You couldn't even comprehend because K through 12 didn't prepare you for it. And now the federal government, after Joe Biden said he was going to give you some relief and gave all your relief to illegal immigrants. Let me tell you, can I touch on this for just a second? I know they're saying what this video is about, but listen. This whole illegal immigrant fiasco is such a problem because I see people who have come across this country. I've been following this thing for years, y'all. I've been on this. So when I see people who come across the border from the Congo, from Rwanda, from Haiti, from Honduras, from all these different countries, from China, and I say, look, you got to understand what's going on here, y'all. They want you to think the narrative that they've been spinning for years is that, oh, these people have been paying the cartels $10,000 a head to get to America. Listen, y'all, hear me clearly. These people that I've seen coming from Haiti, coming from the Congo, they ain't got 10 grand. They ain't got 10 rubies. What they call them, rupees, whatever, in their own country. They ain't got 10 grand of whatever the currency is in their own country. How are they getting to America? Let me tell you how. Because you had people in your country who were taking your tax dollars and funneling it through places like USAID. USAID would kick it to NGOs, non-governmental organizations that operated in countries around the world, and they would take that money, your tax dollars that was funneled. They would take those tax dollars and give that money to the cartels, and then you would get people at your border from the Congo. Who you know in the Congo got 10 bands to get here from the Congo? Who you know in Haiti got 10 bands to get here from Haiti? Ain't nobody got that. And you look at them at the border and they were so dusty and so dirty and so broken down. No, bro, you ain't got 10 nothing. You ain't got 10 shekels, my guy. But somehow you made it to the border under Joe Biden. He made that thing happen. He made it happen with your tax dollars. And that's what I find so uncomfortable in this situation, because they about to pin Americans to the wall, y'all. They about to stick it to y'all so hard. You ain't got no job. You ain't got no prospects. You depressed. You downtrodden. All you got is your prayers that God will step in and give you some relief. And this government is saying, nah. I saw Donald Trump recently on Easter Sunday, and he was trying to represent. He said Jesus Christ maybe 5 or 6 times in his speech. He tried to put up a front. This is the same dude who stepped out there and talked about 2 Corinthians. Oh, we ain't forgot, bro. We ain't forgot. We know exactly who you are. It's all good. It's okay. But they about to put the screws to Americans. Broken Promises by Joseph Robinette Biden, who said he was going to give you some relief. He didn't. Court shot him down and he just walked away. Funny how the courts didn't shoot him down over 20 million illegal aliens that he flew into the country under the dark of night. Courts didn't seem to have nothing to say about that. They didn't seem to want to step in during that period. Where were the courts then? Didn't give Americans no relief then, but all of a sudden, yo, they gonna let this thing pass through, and you're gonna have so many Americans that are already in default that are gonna have their situation worsened by a federal government that says we want our money back. Well, I need you, if you are going to listen, y'all, I try to be fair on this channel. I ain't just all for one side no matter what they do. If you're going to punish Americans for the decisions that they've made, and I understand, I get it, they signed up for this, then you need to go back and examine the situation, examine the process, examine the banks that are involved in this who are doing predatory lending on students they know can't pay it back. You know them students ain't got it. And you gonna take their salary from Walmart, from Starbucks, from the grocery store, from Target. You gonna garnish their wages from those menial jobs because they got an art degree. They don't know what to do with it, can't get a job nowhere, can't do nothing with that little rinky-dink degree that we used to promote, that we used to tell them, look, go to college no matter what you want. There's a degree for you somewhere. No. Susan Harris, thank you for being here. We're trying to fix the situation because you got people who are down. They down bad, Susan. They already down to the point where their loans are in default. They already can't pay them. And instead of the government saying, we recognize the position that you're in, we know you down bad, we know you can't pay it, the government is saying, hey, yeah, we know you down bad, but we coming to get our money. We stealing it out your paycheck. We taking it back, whether you like it or not. Authorized or unauthorized, we garnishing your wages. You're going to pay this government back regardless of where. And I've seen people at this point who are to the point where they are saying, quit your job. They saying quit your job. Just quit. Because if you're not employed, then they can't get it from you, right? That's not the option. That's not the best decision. That's not the way to go. I don't advocate for that. If you made a bad decision, I advocate for you cleaning up that bad decision. But I also got to advocate on the other side for the government to make it a way for you to clean it up. That might take you some time. Some of those detrimental marks are going to stay on your credit report for years. But no better time than the present to start cleaning it up, start working things out, to start getting things in order. Because if you don't, things are just going to get worse. Oh, Big Boy says we are about to be in 2008, 2.0 out here in America. 2008 was bad. 2008 was bad. I ain't forgot. It might just be worse in this circumstance. It might just be worse in this circumstance.
So now they're resuming involuntary collections on student loans. All that time that the loans were frozen, That was the time where the hackers needed to get into the system and erase all of the student loans, genuinely. Because how are they going to be dismantling the Department of Education, but they want everyone to pay back their student loans? Like, but you're dismantling the whole system that the student loans are in. But we're not going to get rid of those student loans. You're still going to have to pay them. Like, of course, they're going to make everyone pay their student loans, even if they actually got rid of the Department of Education fully. Like, of course, they're still going to want that money. Like, it's just actually fucking diabolical.
So they're saying they're going to start garnishing wages for student loans. Was adulthood this scary for our parents, or is this like a unbelievably scary time, or like adulthood been this?
Now, I know we stand as tall and strong on not doing a goddamn thing, but in a minute, we finna have to lean forward. They talking about garnishing what? For who? Come May 5th, they talking about garnishing checks for fucking student loans. Mecca, do you see what you have done? Now, it's over 5 million people already in debt for student loans. We were protected during Biden run. They're lifting that protection and making us pay. So, I mean, we can, like, switch that direct deposit to checks and just, because they don't have to come get it in blood. Pick back up the winter boots. I know it's springtime, but it is what it is. Taking out y'all poor decisions that y'all made going into this 2025 project on us, and now just trying to make us go down with you? Because the tariffs off the bat was the horrible move. The Pope didn't pass from seeing JD, but y'all paying Katie $60 million to go motherfucking lie about being in space. Y'all love a good distraction before the bullshit.
They can't garnish this cash. They're going to have to come get it back in blood. They done got us. This time, y'all woke me up. Everything else was a joke, but this here, you got me this time.
I know as the 92%, we're supposed to just not do nothing. We're just supposed to sit back and let Trump supporters find out. But like, when are we gonna step in exactly? Because now they finna garnish our checks. They finna garnish our checks for these student loans. So I just want to know, what's the plan? What we finna do? Are we just gonna sit back and not do nothing for real?
That new student loan update, talking about y'all gonna start garnishing wages. Let me tell you something. I left student debt with the higher power a long time ago. Left it with God. Let me tell y'all something. They want to keep us poor so bad. They want to keep us in debt so bad. People can barely afford mortgages, rent, any other bills that they have. Barely fucking surviving, and you want to start collecting on a student debt that ain't nobody worried about?
What are we doing? Are we robbing banks? Please tell me before I have to get another job. And this is really pissing me off because I'm engaged, and like, how I'm supposed to pay for a wedding and I gotta pay for student loans? How I'm supposed to buy a house and I have to pay for student loans? It's either you save for a down payment or you pay off all your student loans first. And nobody wants to stay in a high expensive apartment for life. Like, they know exactly what they're doing, and we got to stick together. We got to come up with a plan, because I'm not about to do this.
Real situations, y'all, with real reactions, real people stepping out and expressing themselves. And that's why I highlight things like this on this channel. But I got to be careful on them folks' platform. And that's why we will discuss things like this even further in the Patreon. There go the link. Y'all can join us over there. But the real situation is that people are going to be hurt by this. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. People are going to be hurt. People are going to feel real pain. People who are just scraping by are going to find themselves taking hits from the federal government that they didn't expect, that they can't afford. How are they going to deal with it? Well, that's why I take advantage of situations like this, because I learn as much from y'all as Y'all claim to learn from me. And I hope that y'all will continue this conversation moving forward, because people are going to need your input. They're going to need your knowledge. They're going to need your understanding in order to navigate the situations that are going to befall them coming soon. This is going to happen soon, y'all. We talk about a couple weeks in May. These garnishments are going to start happening, and these people are going to have to figure out how to deal with it. They ain't had enough time to even plan. No, you're going to receive your paycheck in the next 2 weeks, and it's going to have a whole gap missing, and you're going to have to figure out what to do. Oh, my rent is short. My car payment is short. I ain't got enough for my light bill. What am I going to do to maintain? Because I was already living check to check. And a slight disruption like this, if I had a family emergency, I couldn't afford it. According to documents that I read, most American families couldn't afford a $500 emergency. What are you going to do when the government pulls $500 out of your paycheck and just leaves you there? So somebody in one of those videos said, well, look, I'll change it from direct deposit into a paper check. You don't understand how this works. Sis, you got a bad understanding. When your employer receives that notification from the federal government, they gonna pull it out before they print that paper check. Ain't no saving you, sis. You out there. What are you gonna do? How you gonna react? How you gonna respond? Is there any respite for people who have been sucked into this situation? And those of us who are supporting of this government and getting things together, how are we to feel about this, knowing there's going to be some pain? Y'all, this is a situation that I toil with a little bit, because I voted for Donald Trump 3 times, 2016, 2020, and 2024. I understand where this administration is going, but I understand where other administrations have been in the past. Whether you looking at the brown guy, whether you looking at Joe Biden, there have been some things done in this country, y'all, over the last couple of decades that have been so detrimental, that have taken us down a bad road, such that in order to take corrective action, it's going to be painful. It's like having a wound, right? It's like having a wound that was patched up badly. Maybe the sutures wasn't good. Maybe the bandages weren't good. And you had a bad doctor who just left it as it is to get infected and fester until the limb almost fell off, because America was in a bad place. And then a new doctor comes along and says, oh, you down bad, but I can fix it. You are almost to the point of amputation, but I can fix it. Slick Rick, I can fix it. Just give me what I gotta do, though, is I gotta take off those bad sutures. I gotta cut off them bad stitches. I gotta take off those bad bandages. And I gotta redo some things. I gotta rejigger some things. I gotta restructure some things, and it's gonna hurt. But in order to make it better, I gotta make it worse. Temporarily. In the short term, it's going to be painful, because I got to rip them old, disgusting bandages off. Appreciate you, Felicia. Thank you for being here. I got to cut them old stitches out and restitch that thing. I might have to cut out some bad flesh that is rotted, gone bad. I might have to redo a whole lot, because the government has steered you down a bad road for the last couple decades. Let me get in there and restructure some things. Let me fix some things up. It's going to be painful in the short term, but in the long term, well, You might be great again if this all works out according to plan. Are you willing, you American citizen, you American voter, are you willing to let the new surgeon come in and fix up some stuff, knowing it will be painful, knowing it will be hurtful? Are you willing to let the surgeon do the work that needs to be done and cause you that pain in the short term in order for the long-term payoff? Or are you just trying to leave it as it is and say, hey, it is what it is. We're going to just rock with it till it falls off. We're just going to rock with it till the limb rots. We're just going to rock with it till America is America no more. Forever Favor says they loan this money to children that have no job security to pay it back. 100%. This is predatory lending. Forever Favorite, I understand it. Thank you, Child Wilburn. I understand it. Forever Favorite, this is predatory lending. You giving this stuff to kids that have no understanding. Listen, you got to go back and track the data, y'all. We talking about kids who are graduating 12th grade who can't read at a 6th grade, 8th grade level. So if you're going to push them through K through 12 and you graduate them not being able to read at a 6th grade or 8th grade level, then you're going to throw some loan docs in their face. Talking about you're going to give them some money, thousands of dollars. All they got to do is sign. Well, some way, somehow, y'all, America got to take responsibility for what they're doing. Look, if you're producing children who can't read and can't comprehend, why are you putting loan docs in their face knowing they can't read them and comprehend them? And then you go come back here years later and say, oh, now that you defaulted because you didn't understand what you signed, now we coming for you at your little minimum wage job, working at the grocery store, working at Home Depot, working at Walmart. Now we come in and we're going to garnish your wages. So you thought you was working minimum wage. Now we're going to cut that in half because we taking half of what you bring home on top of taxing it to all hell. I'm in California, y'all. You got look, the taxes here are incredible. So not only are we going to tax you to death, but on top of them taxes you pay, then we're going to put that garnishment on top of them taxes. You working for nothing, bro. And you trying to tell me as I sit here in front of y'all, as Michael Savage would say, psychologically nude in front of y'all on this internet. Y'all gonna tell me that there's any incentive for somebody to go to work and make nothing? You ain't taking home nothing. You making minimum wage. They taxing that to death. And your take home is then being garnished because of your defaulted student loans. What do you have? What are you supposed to do? Go to the streets? Oh, well, you got a government in there now who's saying, look, they cracking down on crime. You might not want to take that route, bruh. Well, listen, if you did take that route, you had 3 hots and a cot. You have a place to stay for sure. You wouldn't have to worry about it. Now, it'd be in a 6x9 behind some heavy bars, but you got a place to stay. You ain't getting rained on. You ain't out there under a bridge. You ain't out there in the park somewhere. But this is what things are coming to, and you have an administration that is telling you they're going to implement certain things, but they ain't giving you no solutions to find relief. And when we come to you in places like this, we try to give you some spiritual relief, some emotional relief. I try to provide some information to y'all where you can find solace and understanding in what I'm talking about. But understand that I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers, and that's why we try to promote conversation in spaces like this and on the Patreon where we can talk things through. Because the more people we get involved, the greater the conversation is, and the more we can discover alternatives that might help somebody. Because even though somebody like me can sit before you on this platform and say, yeah, I had so much in student loans that I could have bought a house in another state. That's me. That's my circumstance. My circumstance ain't yours. And I understand it's not everybody's. I went to law school in a state where I saw that somebody could have a job at a grocery store, a job at a library, a job at a school, 2 incomes, and you can live well in the Midwest. You can just live, you can live well. I'm like, ain't no way you can have this in California. Not for this. Well, I'm back in California. Back to reality over a decade later after that whole experience. And for the amount that y'all spend on houses, some of y'all couldn't afford an apartment in California for what y'all spend on a whole house in another state. People in California spend $1 million on a house just to tear it down. Bro, that house didn't mean nothing. We didn't even want the house. We just wanted the dirt. I spent a million on the land to knock the whole house down and build something else. Well, in other states, that's unheard of. In other states, that's crazy. But here we find ourselves in situations where you got people with tens of thousands of dollars of debt. And listen, if you got $10,000 in student loans, God bless you. You got $50,000 in student loans, God bless you. Find a way. Call somebody, make a payment arrangement, do something, do everything you can to make some kind of arrangement where it don't kill you on paper. You gotta listen. If you're gonna be successful in this life, in this country, in this environment, you're gonna have to look decent on paper. So get yourself together on paper. You might have to find another job. You might have to work. Listen, when I was a young husband and a young father, I worked 3 jobs. Today, people don't even understand that today because it was so many decades ago. People like, bro, what are you talking? Listen, I used to call it my day off when I only had 1 job to go to. Is anybody willing to get out there like that? Is anybody willing to do that kind of work? Is anybody willing to grind like that in order to find your pathway to success? Or are you just going to sit there and let this federal government thump you upside the head repeatedly as they ruin your credit and ruin your finances, maybe ruin your family, because some of y'all going to lose some relationships over some of this foolishness that the government is going to press on your head? Are you willing to lose it all? Over MAGA? Bro, you gonna make America great again as you ruin my personal life? Can America be great if my personal finances are in ruin? I don't know. Y'all got to tell me. Y'all got to tell me. And we're going to continue this conversation over in the Patreon, y'all. Look, I'll drop the link again for those of y'all who AJ Drotty done made it into the chat, y'all. We about to give the benediction, AJ. But I'm thankful for you being here. I'm glad you are here. I appreciate you and your support as usual, AJ. Hope Cook says, try teaching people about their masters. Prince, try teaching people about their masters. Hello taught himself how to play over 20 musical instruments. Prince was great. Rest in peace. Prince was a drug addict. Hope Cook. Yeah, he was a great musician, but I know plenty of great musicians out there who have the same issue that he struggled with. And it's unfortunate that he met his demise in the way that he did. Yeah, he tried to tell people about owning their masters, and I preach that same message because your rights are yours. Hope, until you give them away. I've said that about 1,000,000 times, Hope, to 1,000,000 different musicians, and I put it out there as often as I can because your rights are yours till you give them away. And I know you came in sideways with something that, well, we wasn't even talking about today, but that does apply because your rights to your autonomy are yours until you sign them away on a student loan contract. It still applies, Hope. Can't nobody put you in default if you don't sign on that dotted line, but I know that Charger looks so good to you. That Challenger looks so good to you. You hear them dualies barking and you say, hey, I can ride through the hood in that. And everybody will think of me in a certain way. Well, I have access to a vehicle auction in California, and I went to the auction a couple months ago. And I saw so many vehicles at that auction that were the same kind of vehicles that people want to have in the hood. I said, wait a minute, bro, this is a Charger, this is a Challenger. It's a 2024. You mean to tell me that somebody got this car 6 months ago and it's already at the auction? Yes. That's exactly what they're telling you because somebody got the car. They might have signed up for a student loan in order to get the down payment and get on that thing, but 6 months later, it's at the auction. They can't even afford it. Repo Rick came and pulled it out your driveway. And now I'm sitting here looking at it for pennies on the dollar. Is that what we doing? Is that what we call success? Come on, we got to be better than that. We got to be smarter than that. And you know what? It begins before college. If you follow me for some time, you've heard me say that education is a civil rights issue of our time. If we're going to tackle it, we got to tackle it long before they get to college because they graduating them from high school and they can't read. And if they can't graduating you from college and you can't read and you can't comprehend, how are you going to understand what you're signing when you sign up for a student loan that's going to have you indebted forever? And the federal government comes in and says, we taking half of your salary from your minimum wage job because you defaulted on this agreement that you made that you didn't understand. Oh, I know MAGA ain't going to like this. Because they expected me to fall down on a different angle on this. But the problem is bigger than student loans. And the student loans are going to come down crashing on the head of so many people. 5 million plus people in default already. And another 4 million about to go into default. You're talking about 9 million Americans who are about to face the wrath of the federal government. Now, this is worth it. Let me post this right here. Thank you, Deathclaw Jedi, for being here. Appreciate you. Says, came in late. But when it comes to student loans, MGI bill really helped me out there till I decided uni was a scam. I say it often. University is a scam for certain people. If you're willing to go into the STEM fields and make a real career out of it, then maybe not. But good on you for understanding that the military might be a way out. So I took the classes I wanted and left without a degree, and I own my own business. That is exactly. And I know you, Deathclaw, you say you came in late, but I covered that early on in the live because I teach it in entrepreneurial principles. Get the education that you can get get what you need in order to establish a business. And I referenced an article that I read recently about MBAs. That said, MBA degrees are good if you want to climb the corporate ladder in someone else's business. But if you are trying to establish a business of your own, MBA degree is almost worthless. Because you don't need the degree. You don't need the sheepskin. What you need is the information in order to build something. You need the knowledge. You need the skill set. You don't need the paper. Yeah, if you're going to go work for somebody else, then you need the paper because they require it. But if you're just going to do your own thing, build something from the ground up, what you need is a skill set that is better than your competition, because everything is a competition out there. You fighting. You scrapping. If you ain't got that knowledge, then you're going to get beat out by the next man with the next business. If he got a better mousetrap, people going to go spend money with him. Amethyst Angel says, for now, YouTube University is working just fine for about $15 a month. Look, you pay to have an ad-free premium situation. You can learn anything you want to learn on this YouTube. Facts. Unfortunately, you can't go to an employer and put on your resume that you learned a certain skill set on YouTube. So if you're going to rely on YouTube, and I rely on it myself. I follow people on YouTube for all sorts of reasons. Well, listen, whether it be learning business principles or learning how to get my grilling skills up to par. I'm trying to be the grill master out here, y'all. And yeah, I cook a little bit, okay? But I follow YouTube for many reasons, but I can't put that on a resume. So how do you present that? The way you present it is taking that skill set and putting it into action in such a way that people can discover you for the things you have done, not the things you talking about you're going to do, not the things you professing you can do. No, the things you have done in the marketplace. Have you built a following? Have you released a product? Do you have something in the marketplace that is tangible? People want to see those things if you're looking for opportunity. You don't need a degree for that. What you need is a little elbow grease, a little hard work. Yeah, you need to get in the trenches, get that work in, and produce some results. You can't be a producer if you don't produce nothing. Told that to a guy the other day. He told, I want to be a producer. What have you produced? Nothing. Well, you got a lot of stuff in your computer. You got a lot of stuff in your keyboard. What have you produced? What have you released? Nothing. Well, you ain't no producer then, because you ain't produced nothing. If you step out here in this marketplace and you present yourself wanting to connect with someone else, whether it be for an employer-employee situation or a business networking situation, trying to connect with somebody to do a collab, doing anything, what you're going to have to do is show and prove that you can produce results, that you have a knowledge base that you can put into action. People like to say knowledge is power. No, knowledge ain't power if you don't act on it. Knowledge with application is power. But knowledge without application is just somebody sitting there with information. What is that doing? What is that helping anybody? You sitting up with all this information and ain't applied a piece of it? Tells me something about you. And I can't even believe I've been on here this long. But we started out talking about the little Shay situation, y'all. We touched on it just a piece. I didn't want to go too hard on it. I didn't want to go heavy on my guy. I believe he made some real mistakes in his life. I remember when Monique was on his podcast and she talked to him about it. It was like, bro, you too old to be out here with this foolishness. Y'all go look it up. Look up the Monique interview on Club Shay Shay, she checked him on it. He kind of laughed it off, but she was for real. She was in his grill like, bro, you too old to be out here fooling with these folks your kids' age. And now he found himself caught up. We covered it just a little bit. But our main thing that we touched on today was the student loan crisis, because it's going to affect so many Americans moving forward, up to 9 million plus people. Over $1 trillion. When your government that you voted for burned through over $1 trillion on illegal aliens over the last administration, yeah, they had enough money in their pockets, in their coffers, to solve the whole thing. Instead of giving it to you like Joe Biden promised, he gave it to the illegal aliens because he wanted them to stay here and vote the Democrats in office forever. He bet on illegals. He didn't bet on Americans. And because of that, so many Americans about to lose out on this student loan situation. Some in situations they didn't understand, in situations they couldn't comprehend. Some in situations they still don't comprehend to this day. But they're going to have to learn the hard way. They're going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to listen to certain voices and read certain articles and get themselves up to speed. Unfortunately, half of them can't read. See, that's easy to say. You see, I just flowed out of my mouth where they're going to have to read certain articles. Listen, I come at them with, but y'all be telling me on this platform, well, give them Bible verses, give them scripture. They need to get in their word. They can't read. How many people you think I'm going to affect? How many people's lives you think I'm going to change if I have to sit here and read Bible verses one by one to each individual and then explain what it means, because they can't read and they can't comprehend? Because our educational system is failing them. Do you see Donald Trump shutting down the Department of Education? He's saying we spend the most per student and we got the worst results in the world. We spending the most money and got the dumbest kids. He ain't even talking about your kids. I don't even know if Donald Trump can see your kids. I don't even know if Donald Trump is familiar with kids like yours who got to walk through. Listen, I just did a video on Oakland the other day because they elected a Democrat mayor who is going to push Oakland even further into the abyss. And I just imagine how bad it got to be for a little kid who got to walk through the hood, through burned out houses and burned out cars, just to get to school. I don't know if Donald Trump sees that kid. I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can imagine it. Because he's just looking at statistics. He's just looking at numbers. He's looking at graphs and charts. But these are real lives. These are real kids who got to go through real situations, who got to go through all of this just to try to make it day by day. Saying if I can get to school, at least I can have lunch. Ain't no food in the house. Ain't nothing there. I'm going to school hungry. Maybe if I can just make it through the school day, I can eat lunch at school. I wonder if Donald Trump sees those kids. I wonder if Donald Trump, if MAGA sees those children and the struggles that they have to deal with. I wonder if this government, who has given so much to illegal immigrants, will give something to those children who are citizens, who are struggling just to make it. Citizenship should have its benefits. I say it all the time on this channel. If you follow me for some time, citizenship should have its benefits. I support those benefits because the government has been caught red-handed doing so much dirt with our tax dollars. I'd much rather see them do something beneficial to Americans with those tax dollars, even if it's our children. Y'all, appreciate you rocking out with me today. It's been fun. I've had a good time expressing myself to y'all, getting some feedback from y'all in the chat. I appreciate all the mods that have been here, that have kept the chat going, kept things moving. I appreciate everyone who has supported and contributed to the chat. We love you all to life, y'all. Thank you for being here. Listen, it won't be so long next time. We've been fighting with these people on this platform. Listen, I'll say this as I get off. I'll say this. I hired a consultant that contacted these people, talked to these people. We dealt with these people. They have labeled us as doing election marketing on this channel. I don't know why. I don't know where that came from. I don't know what it is, but they have labeled us as such on this platform. So we are working with those people, them people on their platform to try to get that label snatched up off of us so they can get their foot off of our necks and we can get back to things as normal. That's where we are, just to keep y'all up to date. But if you want to check us out, you want to follow us, you want to get closer to the messaging that we're putting out there, follow us on Patreon, where we will further our conversation and we will keep this thing going. Is that all right? I love y'all to life. I thank y'all for being here. I thank y'all for rocking out with me. Look, almost 2 hours on this platform. I didn't expect to go that long, but y'all know how I get. Sometimes I get to bumping them gums and it just be what it be. But I thank y'all for rocking out with me tough on today. I love y'all. And I thank you for being here. I appreciate y'all. And I'll see you on the next one.